You like movies about gladiators?
Those men wanted to have sex with me.
Great Scott!
Nice beaver.
He's a Cinderella boy.
Rambo is a pussy.
Come with me if you want to live.
Hello, and welcome to Retro Ramble. I'm Charlie McGhee.
I'm George McGhee.
And welcome to another episode taking a look back on the films of yesteryear, the films from the 80s and 90s. And this month, we're going to be looking at...
Con Air.
So much air guitar in this film, so much hair, so many great things, yet still only 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't understand why more people don't love this film. I just don't think they get it.
I think it's like a fine wine. Its appreciation grows with every year. But it's just been 20 years. Obviously, 1997, 20-year anniversary. Well, we're now in 2018, obviously.
Yes, it's been more than 20 years, but we did a special when we first started. It's been a year since we started. Thanks for all the support. A lot of people have been asking for this film, and this time last year we were doing Face Off. It was a great film in 1997. How many films did Nicolas Cage come out with in 1997?
He
must have
a busy
done
man.
3 or 4.
I think he's churning out. He's still very busy. He's churning out about 4 to direct to DVD
even
thrillers every year.
if they don't actually get made, he's making
get
it.
Printed. He was a very busy man that year. I think he pretty much did Face Off and Con Air back to back.
Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to hop on a plane full of convicts. We're going to have our man on the ground. There's going to be so much air guitar, explosions, and we're going to end up in Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby. But before we go any further, here's a quick word from George on some housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
There will be swearing, bad impressions, spoilers from the very beginning. There'll probably be screeching guitars in this episode. We aim to entertain, and hopefully we'll throw in a bit of some trivia throughout.
We are not movie journalists. George has qualifications in film. George has acted. George has been You've now been in film and TV.
Film and TV, but
briefly,
briefly, yes. We're not talking about Crime Stoppers, are we?
No, we're not. We're not.
Okay.
But no, we are avid movie fans. We are still in touch with what's going on. We go to the cinema a lot.
So our fingers are on the pulse.
They're definitely somewhere. So without further ado, I think
on with the show.
On with the show.
After serving the last of his sentence, Cameron Poe is taking the first plane home to his wife and daughter.
What happened? We caught the plane, man!
Welcome to Con Air. The issue here is how the plane is brought down.
Shoot it down.
There are innocent people up there!
He's got a little girl to come home to. He's been waiting for this day for 8 years.
What are you gonna do? What do you think I'm going to do? I'm gonna save the day.
Con Air, directed by Simon West.
So, George, Con Air, 1997. How did we get... I mean, just to set the scene, you're listening to Blur or Oasis. We don't really care which one you think was better. From Spice Girls to the Backstreet Boys, it's no surprise that in 1997, we really needed good movies.
1997 was a cracking year for film, and I'm sure we touched on this in our launch episode of Air Force One and Face Off, were both released that year, but there was Starship Troopers as well. There was Austin Powers. There was Fifth Element. It was a great year for blockbusters, and obviously Con Air is off the staple. We covered The Rock, which was Nick Cage's first step into the action genre from doing more sort of serious fare. I mean, he'd won an Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas, but he was now under the influence, under the wing of Jerry Bruckheimer following The Rock, and for some reason they thought it'd be a good idea to turn him into a bona fide action hero, not just the plucky sidekick.
No, it's like, Nick, you are going to do roundhouse kicks. Okay.
You're going to have to hit the gym. And what's What's in the box? Oh, what, this hairpiece?
He's seriously buff in this film.
He's seriously buff. Apparently he was working out between takes as well to make sure that the veins were bulging.
Well, it definitely shows. So, as we normally do, we're going to start talking about the production, what made this film possible. So
I've already touched it. It's a from the Bruckheimer production house. We've talked about in the past, they were the sort of kings of the 80s and 90s blockbuster. So his partner...
this is the first film, isn't it?
Yes, so Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer produced a lot of films throughout the 80s and 90s. The last one that they did as a partnership was The Rock, and then Don Simpson did Far Too Many Drugs and died. So this is the first solo outing for Jerry Bruckheimer Productions.
It seems sitting there going, okay, let's get silly.
Let's dial it up.
Don's gone, so let's get really silly.
Let's get, all those ideas that Don shot down.
Yeah.
Let's go nuts. And like a lot of Bruckheimer films, this is a first-time feature for director Simon West. His background, like Ridley Scott, like Tony Scott, like Michael Bay, was in commercials and music videos. So it's his debut feature, and I think, he does an adequate job. It ticks all the relevant boxes for a Bruckheimer film in terms of that sort of...
Explosions!
The explosions, slow-mo explosions, raining and flames.
Wind machines.
Wind machines when necessary. Simon West is still working, so he went on to do the Tomb Raider film, the first one with Angelina Jolie. He did Expendables 2, and it seems that on that film he's cultivated a bit of a relationship with Jason Statham, because he has done 2 films with Jason Statham recently. The Stath, which, he's done 2 films, The Mechanic and a film called Wildcard. I have seen neither. I have seen The Expendables 2, because I am an Arnie and Van Damme completist.
Is The Mechanic the one where he's covered in grease and all the men are trying to grab him?
No, that homoerotic fight scene, that's The Transporter.
Oh, right, okay.
For reasons unknown, they have a fight in a bus depot.
They're going to try and get me. I'm going to cover myself in grease.
Yeah, can't catch me, I'm not greased up. I best take off my top so you can't grab me. Yeah, it's not homoerotic at all.
But enough about greased up half naked guys.
Yeah, let's talk about
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage's greasy mullet. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Apparently the film was inspired by a newspaper article which was just an article about transport service that transported convicts. Airplanes, convicts, Con Air.
I see what you did there.
It's like aircon, but backwards.
So $75 million later, we've got a movie.
we got a movie. We were going to make a film about miners drilling on an asteroid, but we thought that was too silly.
Put that in your back pocket for a while.
Basic setup, in a nutshell, you've got war hero.
He's a war hero, goddammit.
Yeah, decorated veteran, the amazingly named Cameron Poe, not to be confused with Poe Dameron from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is returning from duty
killing people in the
Middle East, I think.
We're guessing.
And yeah, it's a very dramatic opening. So he is reunited with his wife, but then protecting his wife from some drunken rednecks. For honor, he accidentally kills a guy and is then sent to prison, serves time. Meanwhile, his daughter is growing up, and then he is on parole and he's going to be reunited on his family. But first, he must be transported on Con Air.
How many times are we going to say Con Air during this episode?
Ooh,
Not enough.
As many times as we're going to say mullet and screeching guitars.
This is your official first mullet warning. So I do love the Poe comes home, heroes welcome, and it's like so much exposition done so quickly. There's fast introductions, but the exposition's even quicker. So he's in prison. He's come home and then he's in prison working out, learning Spanish.
We get a great prison montage, and I should start by saying I actually have watched the extended version of this film, which I didn't realise existed until I bought the DVD online. And this has some random scenes to sort of add depth to the characters, if that is such a thing.
How much more depth?
So I'm in the prison montage. You're getting he's working out. Obviously, he's meditating. He's learning. There's that a classic line that you and I use when he's learning Spanish.
Our first Spanish, yeah. My wife and I will have our margaritas on the yacht.
Yeah, and all this time his hair's growing, and I thought to myself, Is the mullet his punishment?
That's the real punishment. Because he has different stages of mullet.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit shaggy, but the mullet's getting longer. He's learning to do origami. I think this is an extra scene. But there's also a scene where it sets up why he's so protective of Bubba Gump. So yeah, the guy that plays Bubba Gump, he's called Daddy-O in this. The guy that must have his insulin, is that he saves him in a prison riot and gets burned as a result. So it's all like Cameron owes a life debt to this guy.
I think that's extended scene because...
Yes, that is.
Yeah. In the version I watched, they share sweeties. He gives him like a pink snowball.
Coconut snowball.
Yeah. When are we going to talk about his accent?
Oh, God. The accent is all over the place. So yeah, we're quickly into exposition territory.
So much exposition.
We're getting a lowdown on the plane.
Yep.
We're getting John Cusack turns up wearing socks and sandals. They don't explain why. Is that just because he's a goody guy?
I think they're trying to say that he's a lefty. Are you because there's Colm Meaney or Meaney Colm, as we're going to call him.
We know he's a douchebag. Why?
Because he parks in the disabled spot. What a douche.
What a douche. Got Colm Meaney, who's DEA. He's putting an undercover agent on board to get information.
Yeah.
They kind of gloss over that. John Cusack, it literally sits in a chair in a computer room and just reads through people's criminal records for feels like 10 minutes.
I've got a great idea for how to introduce the characters. Why don't we just read out their criminal file?
But very quickly edited, snapshots.
And we'll have them getting onto the plane at the same time so you can link it up.
In chains.
I do like the idea of the DEA sending a agent onto the plane, but not knowing anything about any of the criminals on the plane.
Just before you get on,
here's a quick rundown of everybody.
Who else you should be aware of?
By the way, on this plane, there's a guy called Cyrus Grissom who's killed 11 people in prison.
Yeah,
he might kill you.
Yeah, and when they get to Cameron Poe, he's a nobody.
He's a nobody.
Don't worry about him.
Until it becomes necessary to the plot.
He's a goddamn war hero. And I didn't realise that Cyrus the Virus Grissom has 2 degrees, apparently.
Yeah, he got those since he got locked up, right?
Yeah. And then there's the marvellous moment where Nick Cage gets off the bus and we see the first mullet in the breeze shot.
It's brilliant.
I think that's become a meme now of him just glancing up at the sun with his mullet glistening and glowing and blowing.
Because this happens throughout the film. It's like he gets off the bus, there's a wind machine. He gets off the plane. He gets on the plane.
No one else is affected by the wind.
No one else is allowed to have long hair. Even the bishop, the guard, she's got her hair tied back because no one else can have flowy, blowy hair.
That's a very good point.
Well, I just one of them, actually, the guy with the beard who they get into the fight underneath the plane, because I can't remember his name. He looks like he's just had a recent haircut. Yeah. So I think he probably turned up with long hair and they were like, no, nobody out-mullets the Cage.
So yeah, they decided the mullet looked so great. I don't understand.
Why is it always greasy? Is that meant to be gel or is it like sweat?
I think he's just so hot.
Yeah.
But I'm really a bit bemused by the whole mullet concept. Like, what was there? Was it like something from the costume guy? You know what we haven't really seen is an action hero with a mullet. Have you not seen Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
It is a weird thing to
he punches a snake in the face.
Roundhouse as a grenade.
It just seems like such an odd design choice.
With Nicolas Cage looking so tall and so ripped, it's like, what he really needs?
Mullet.
A mullet. But he's got a receding hairline. Shut up.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So yeah, they're on the plane. We get the introduction of all the horrible criminals. You've got Malkovich is really hamming it up, but he's having a great time. He is having a great time.
Almost as much fun as we are at watching him.
You've got Ving Rhames being quite terrible.
But no, I mean, terrible character. Great.
Yeah, no, really sort of scary. Terrible.
Yeah, don't mess.
Menacing, sorry.
Yeah.
Menacing.
All of the characters. You've got Danny Trejo, you've got...
I forgot Danny Trejo was in this.
But everyone's... I think this was, we talk about this comes up a lot, but I think even the supporting cast, even the guard who's saying, gag him and bag him, that guy who's really hoping that Bobby's going to make it when they take the plane. Even he's good. They're all accomplished. Even the guys on the ground, you've seen them in other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Meany's been in everything from Star Trek to Layer Cake.
You mean Meany Column?
Meany Column. Yeah, you've even got Dave Chappelle as a random character, right? I think
Who shouldn't have been allowed to improvise.
Yeah, I mean, like...
You can't hear half of his dialogue.
He's trying to improvise in the middle of, like, an action scene when the plane's been taken over.
And there's explosions and smoke, and you can't... He's probably making some good jokes.
I mean, Dave Chappelle, I mean, we've probably talked about him in the past. He is hilarious bloke. You should definitely check out sketches online of Prince and Rick James, because they are some of the funniest things that have ever been filmed. But yeah, he's wasted in this.
And I'd say recently also the Netflix special is hilarious. His stand-up is great.
I still need to
There's some great jokes about how millennials don't know what it was like to have to call up somebody's house and stuff before mobiles. No, it's great. He's a raw talent. Wasted.
Got a little bit of tension on the ground between lefty John Cusack, is it Lance Larkin or something?
Yeah.
And Meanie Colm just being an all-round douchebag, but he has some great dialogue. One of them, he says, this is a situation that needs to be unfucked right now. Yeah, so they've got a bit of banter going on. You've got Nick Cage trying to do the right thing, but I think the thing that surprised me on watching this, I haven't seen it for a while, was it's quite a knowing script. They're
so self-aware. That's what I'd say the main difference between this and The Rock is that they're like, come on, we're going to make a film like The Rock, but this time we're going to be more self-aware. Like, I think there's even a point in the film where Cage kind of sums it up. I don't know whether it's one of those lines you think was put in for the trailer. It's like, it's kind of like they took all of the worst criminals and put them all together. You know, it was
like that line from Top Secret. It's like, it all sounds like some bad movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And they look at the camera.
Yeah, it would have looked better if he just turned and looked at the camera, broken the fourth wall. But yeah, so that's what you've got to. Why I got annoyed when I saw that this only has 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like, you don't get it. This is meant to be nonsense. They've given him a mullet. They've got. You've got everybody hamming it up, and
that's it. It is so
set piece to set piece. That's what this film is.
It is so ludicrous, but it knows what it's doing. It's not trying to be anything than an entertaining blockbuster. Some very talented people having a great time, as we've said. Some great bits with John Cusack.
Doing some good exposition, doing some good shouting down, which I think must be really hard to do. Shouting into phones. He looks good doing
he's
that.
Been he's really attached to that plane.
Yeah,
Colmini just wants to shoot it out the sky. So yeah, it's you've got.
They are loosely drawn characters. That sort of relationship thing, the good and bad.
Yes,
probably a lot more admin and red tape and decision making and a committee involved, whereas it's just been drilled down to like two guys.
two guys, and they're both like physically involved in the chase as well. You've got Steve Buscemi turning up as the creepiest serial killer who apparently wore a little girl's head as a hat across 2 states. That sounds logistically quite tricky.
And smelly and sticky.
Smelly and sticky
and would attract a lot of attention. But I like his portrayal of the character. I think it's interesting. They make him look like Hannibal Lecter, but he actually just plays himself like a normal guy, like from a Tarantino film.
Well, that's it. It's a great gag, the fact that when you first turn up, he's all strapped and chained, I say, like Hannibal Lecter, and then just like taking off the mask. Oh, it's Steve Buscemi.
He's like, hello.
But actually, in the extended edition, there's actually a very brief scene where it alludes that he's killed one of the guards on the plane just for fun. And that's just before the scene that they all get off the plane at Lerner Airfield, and he goes off and starts being creepy with the little girl.
And you think this film's gone really, really dark, but then he shows that he actually knows the words to "He's got the whole world in his hands."
Yeah,
but there is that great shot where you see that he doesn't actually kill her.
Yes, it's wrong footing you there. The changeover in Carson City, where they have to get on their own pilot, the Swamp Thing, I think he's called, the big hairy guy. Then they have to do the plane. The plan is they've got the South American drug dealer who's going to get them all on his private plane out of there.
That's their escape route.
That's their escape plan. That goes horribly wrong because he double crosses them, which paves the way for an extended action scene.
And yeah, it also gives us our first meeting of these two guys who don't know each other, who are a double act by the end of the film. You've got Larkin and Poe.
Yeah.
First encounter.
John Cusack's trying to reach out to Nicolas Cage. He's a good guy. He's just trying to get home to his wife and kid. He's a goddamn war hero. And I think he even says the most cliched line in any blockbuster, Poe, you're always in the wrong place at the wrong time. They've never met, but that is that whole sequence.
They've just met.
They've just met. But that whole sequence at Lerner Airfield, there's a lot of good fun there. The whole bit where they're planning that they've had task force, the army, the DEA are coming down the desert, and they're about 10 minutes away, but that gives them just enough time to make a map out of cans and rocks and stones for Cyrus Grissom to plot that. But again, that knowing script, he at one point someone says, "Oh, what's that?" And Malkovich just goes, "That's a rock." It's ludicrous. You've got Cage running in slow-mo from explosions.
Yeah.
Bad guys walking from... Cool guys don't look at explosions.
And they definitely don't in this film. But wind machines do.
Wind machines do. The airplane graveyard that just seems ripe for a shootout with lots of gas canisters.
Yeah, never seen so many full gas canisters.
So yeah, that's a great scene there. The whole insulin countdown. The
Tick-tock. TikTok.
The MacGuffin of Nicolas Cage is, well, not only is he trying to get back to his wife and kids, but he's trying to save Baby O's life and just get a syringe. I think he's got the insulin's on board, but he just needs a syringe. And it just seems like, oh God, yeah, he's still doing this. The incident, I can't leave him behind.
Never leave a man behind because I'm a US Ranger.
America thanks you. Baby O is quickly becoming Dead Meat Thompson from Hot Shots, because he's like, it's getting real cold, dog. Yeah, don't think I'm going to make it.
And by the end of it, he's like lying on the floor and Bishop's keeping, I think I'm going to die. But he doesn't.
And Cage even goes, I'm going to show you God does exist.
Yeah, that's...
the whole thing for him being, does he have to be Southern? I mean, it seems
like... Well, his character, there could have been a few ways to play it, and he chooses one way. Because is he a believable... The question you've got to ask, is he believable to be... Is that how a US Ranger who'd be in prison, incarcerated, and was being sent home, is that how they would act? Would they still be so righteous? Or...
I don't know many Army Rangers.
Okay.
But it does seem like he's channeling what if Forrest Gump stayed in the army and got locked up. I'm going to show you God does exist.
It could be straight...
He's even with Bubba Gump on the plane.
Could be straight out of that film. Yeah, so he's playing both sides.
Well, he's playing both sides, but he's trying to win the trust of the convicts. And in the extended edition, anyway, there's a lot of subtext between John Malkovich, Cyrus Grissom, Cyrus the Virus, and Cameron Poe. There's this one scene that it's a bit like the scene in Point Break where the surfers all realise, oh yeah, you're Johnny Utah. It's all like, oh hey, you're Cameron Poe. You're the guy that took down the guy in prison. Cyrus goes, ooh, he must have been really mad to go after you. And he's like, he took away my blackberry jello. and he goes, you must really like jello. He goes, I like jello a lot. And Cyrus just goes, I like you.
No, that wasn't in the version I watched, George.
Yeah, so they've cut out that homoerotic subtext. I mean, you know.
There is a point when he goes, I like you, Poe. But it's not. I don't think it's about... I can't remember a black jello conversation.
There's definitely a lingering look, and he looks him up and down and he goes, I like you.
Well, Malkovich, being how hammy can you go? If you're going to be hammy, you've got to be camp. If you're too camp, you come across a little bit gay.
I mean, yeah, Malkovich is on top form in this. He has some cracking lines that we're probably going to intersperse throughout this podcast.
So many. He's having a great time. The guy doing the soundtrack on guitars is having a great time. There was two of them.
Apparently there was two guys doing the soundtrack. One guy had to bow out early. Apologies.
Obviously, there was a plan. It was like, we're going to mix this up. We're going to have like tense build-up music.
Yeah, and then the Bruckheimer dun 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 dun.
And then we're going to have celebratory high guitar riffs. But then one guy drops out. It's like, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I don't know the names of the guys that did the soundtrack. But yeah, one guy had to bow out. And it seems like the other guy's like, well, fuck it, I'll just chuck in some more guitars.
There is so much guitars in
it. And as the action ramps up, so does the screeching guitars.
It gets higher and higher and higher.
And you wouldn't think it would get any higher, but it does. So the following the big sort of shootout at Lerner Airfield, they've dug out the plane, and I don't know how many guys can actually physically drag a plane out of the sand, but apparently it's possible.
A few strong guys, a few
mostly guys. They're off to Las Vegas, where they're going to have to crash the plane, because in the whole sort of logical sense, we can't shoot the plane down. There's innocent men in there, but let's let them just land it in a very...
Take out downtown Vegas. Take out the Strip.
Take out the Strip via some very ropey 1997 era CG.
Oh, some woeful CGI. Air Force One type. Why can't you land a plane? Which is worse? Air Force One is probably the worst.
It looks like a PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1 cutscene.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's very pixely. But yeah, it turns into, well, a similar rift as Homer Simpson describes Speed as the bus that would not stop. It does become the plane that would not stop. It goes through everything.
Yeah.
Even that bit where...
Without exploding.
Without exploding.
Everything else it touches explodes.
Everything else blows up. Meanwhile, you've got this face-off in the plane between Poe and Cyrus, and the propeller falls off and soars through the entire plane.
Goes between two actors, and the cameraman's just there.
Just happens to capture that.
From the point of view of the story we're being told, the propeller goes through the middle of it.
Yeah. It has destroyed all of Vegas. It's a great opportunity to think, oh, well, the plane's landed, film's over. Oh, no. Because Cyrus and his two accomplices get away, and there's a great moment when John Cusack and Nicolas Cage both get on the police bikes at the same time, and Cage goes, Cyrus, and Cusack goes, Grissom.
They know each other so well now. They've been through so much together. Well, not really together, but on the end of a radio.
But they're finishing each other's
sentences.
Yeah.
That's how close they are.
That's how close they are. So yeah, you've got this ludicrous fire truck chase, though it's so over the top, it's still more convincing than A View to a Kill.
That's not saying much, though.
It hasn't got Roger Moore. It seems to be in the longest tunnel in the world as well.
They're going underneath hotels, yeah.
Yeah, they're going through this long tunnel, and you've got Nicolas Cage, who's been shot in the arm, but he's still managing to hang from a ladder on a speeding vehicle.
That's the time when he walks and he gets shot and he just doesn't stop walking. He's just carried by the power of his mullet.
And love and screeching rock music.
He's being blown by the wind machine. The bullet means nothing.
Maybe it's like his personal playlist. Like, it's just the music that's playing in his hair.
That's what's going on in his head.
Whilst the mullet's flowing. So yeah, it's a ludicrous fire truck chase, but it then culminates in the most elaborate death scene of any villain.
You thought you disliked Cyrus Grissom. Well, what do you want to see happen to him? Well, there was a number of ideas floating around, and in the end, we just thought we'd go with all of them.
I just want to know that he's dead.
Yeah, dead.
So he's
catapulted. He's on the ladder.
So he's handcuffed to the ladder.
Yeah.
He's then driven through a walkway bridge,
which has windows at the perfect height that he can be sent through.
Yeah. He then goes through a power line, so he's electrocuted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's flown from the ladder
into a nearby
crushing plant.
No, into a nearby industrial complex. Which I didn't see last time I was in Vegas.
In the centre of Vegas, and then manages to fall onto a conveyor belt and then rolls his head onto a crushing machine, as you do.
Yeah. Just at the right moment to have it completely pulverised.
Yeah,
with hilarious
consequences. There's even the line, I think the warden says to Nicolas Cage, it's like, hey, Poe, next time, get the bus. And I was screaming at TV, sequel! But yeah, that would probably be a bit too close to Speed, the bus that would not stop. After all that, they've trashed all of Vegas, and again, it's that knowing script. Meanie Calm says, so glad we didn't shoot it down.
Yeah, because it is completely trashed.
Completely trashed. But the mullet is glistening. He's reunited with his wife. He meets his daughter for the first time. He hands over the very sodden bunny.
Soiled.
God knows
bunny.
what those criminals were doing in the underbelly of that plane.
And plus it was just about to go into the sewer before he catches it at the last second.
And again, it's that sort of knowing script, because the mullet is glistening, the fans are on.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a Bruckheimer film without a hip hop song. So
How Do I Live? Leanne Rimes.
How do I live?
Yeah. Without that haircut.
And he even says, I meant to get a haircut. And it's like, what? You were in prison for 9 years or something?
You cut it yourself, dude.
But that's not the final joke, because it cuts to the casino tables and the mass murderer, Steve Buscemi, the guy that had to be sort of, locked up like Hannibal Lecter. He's not only gambling, mega lols.
Yeah, he's winning. Ha ha ha. But the laughs don't stop there, because then you get all of the cutscenes that's taken out of like an airplane film or a...
Oh, when they're all looking at the camera and smiling?
They all smile at the camera, and it's like, oh, come on, guys. We were just... I mean, that's why I walk away from this film thinking it was all just a laugh. They're not really criminals, you idiot.
I can't believe you're even watching this shit.
You're still watching this? They're kind of laughing at you.
It's a trashy film. It is a guilty pleasure, and I know some people hate that term. But I'd say it's one of the weaker end of the Bruckheimer Simpson staples, but it's still a lot of fun.
It does work. I can remember watching this film shortly after I just moved to France, and I remember I had a night alone, I had some time to myself, I got some beers, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna put this film on. And I think I had Facebook open at the same time, and I was like, this movie is amazing. 3 beers in, people, 3 beers in. But I had a roller coaster ride of fun. I was just like, this film is so silly, it's so ridiculous, but just switch off your brain, sit back, and pray you're not on Con Air.
We did joke that it is that classic economic exposition of, I'm just going to read through that, what are all their worst crimes, and then we'll get straight to action. But that's what the film's really good at. There's lots of key action sequences all linked together. So you've got the taking of the plane, the bit in the Lerner airfield, and then obviously you've got the whole Vegas stretch. Great
set pieces, some good jokes. I like the bit about the body being thrown out the plane and landing.
Body's got your name on it.
Yeah. I think these were popcorn films at the time. I remember going to see these. You knew what you were going to get. It was like, oh, no, it was like there was this. There was, we've talked about all the other Bruckheimers. There was the bus that could not slow down. There was speed. There was, these films were enjoyable. But we talked about his mullet a lot, and I'm starting to think now, George, who else was considered for the role? Was Nicolas Cage chosen because he was the only one who agreed to the greasy mullet? Well, I think that brings us to our monthly feature.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Indeed.
So I've got 2 for this. So one is for Cameron Poe, and then one is for Cyrus the Virus Grissom. So it sounds like for Cameron Poe, it was a who's who of action heroes. So Arnie, Sly, Bruce Willis, Kurt Russell, Van Damme, Seagal, Dolph Lundgren. Then a bit more left field, Johnny Depp. Then, we haven't got the budget for Alec Baldwin. What about William Baldwin? What about Stephen Baldwin?
My God.
That's pretty low. Keanu Reeves, Brad Pitt, and Tom Cruise apparently were all considered, but I think maybe none of them wanted to have the mullet.
It was when you get to that bit in the contract, you will have hair extensions.
And even Van Damme was like, but I've done this.
I've already been there, man.
But for Cyrus Grissom, apparently Gary Oldman was the first choice.
That could have been interesting.
That could have been very interesting. But then apparently, again, it sounds like a bit sort of who's who of very good character actors. So you've got Tim Robbins, Ed Harris. Stand down, Captain. William Hurt, Robert De Niro, John Travolta. Oh, God. That
Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
Again, back together again.
Reunited.
Rutger Hauer, Peter Weller, James Gandolfini, Sean Penn, and Mickey Rourke. Apparently, Mickey Rourke got as far as auditioning for the role and terrified people by improvising in his audition, turning up with a real knife, but which did impress the director. But apparently, it wasn't enough to get cast over Malkovich. But Malkovich.
This is his film. He does a great job, and he does the very good, crazy but not stupid role.
But as you were saying when we were talking about earlier, that he's an egomaniac, so he will make the odd mistakes because he's so proud. Because I was like, why would he, in the prison transfer scene, at Carson City, why would he disguise himself as one of the guards? Why not get somebody else to do it when he's one of the most famous, notorious criminals?
I think he's a very well drawn character. I just think they're not lazily, just loosely drawn. As I say, the whole thing that's going on the ground. Well, it's a smart thing of Bruckheimer. It's like, well, how would it really be dealt with in real life? Well, you'd have so many agencies involved. I mean, this was obviously pre 9/11. But you would still have so many agencies fighting over what they were going to do. The talk of shooting it down. So they just squeezed those into left and right characters of Mini Colm and John Cusack.
But I forgot about there's a whole scene where they the prison guards at his cell, they discover all of his plans.
Oh, yeah, and there's that bomb.
Of the plane. And then it's like the do not open box. And John Cusack's like, whatever you do, don't touch that. What? This one?
It's a butt.
Yeah. Whatever you do, Dougal, do not push that red button.
Yeah.
You know, it's that sort of thing. And it's sort of like, why did he want them to find out, but then like
blow them up?
Why not just get rid of the plans in the first place? It's kind of a bit unnecessary. I've got a little bit of other trivia for you. So apparently the crash site in Vegas was picked because that hotel was due for demolition anyway.
Excellent.
So they were like, before you blow it up, can we blow it up?
Can we crash a CGI plane into it?
Yeah. But apparently it was originally, so the crash site was supposed to be the White House.
Wow.
Which seems a bit random. What were they doing in Washington?
No, it's a long trip.
It's a long trip. But then they thought they had this hotel available, and Las Vegas was more in keeping with the whole thing of convicts cashing in, apparently.
And in the desert. It kind of ties in with the Castle City thing. Oh, we don't know which way they worked this out.
Yeah. But the other fun fact is apparently John Cusack hates the film so much he refuses to talk about it in any interviews.
That is a shame.
Which is weird. He's had a really bizarre career, hasn't he? I mean, he's been in some cracking films. I mean, I love High Fidelity is one of the, I think it's a cracking film. But
Grosse Point Blank,
another 1997 film.
We will, we were talking about doing that as well.
Yeah, no,
we'll get to it.
Grosse Point Blank is a great film.
A little gem. Dan Aykroyd, isn't it?
Yeah, John Cusack seems to have fallen from grace and done a bit of a Nick Cage. They seem to be doing a lot of
up and down,
straight to DVD type fare.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, I
think he's quite a prickly pair to deal with, because there was that one where he actually, speaking of Poe, he made a film about Edgar Allan Poe. You know who Edgar Allan Poe? He's the only author, according to Hollywood.
What,
the only American author that's ever mentioned in any mainstream, it's Edgar Allan Poe.
Or Mark Twain.
Yeah,
but it's
all about.
They do
so he made this film about, and I don't know if it was well received or critically acclaimed.
Was it
whatever.
The Raven or something?
I think that's what it's called. But in that he went a bit meta, and I remember hearing one or two interviews, and he just sounded difficult. So I don't know what else.
Maybe he has just got a bit difficult with age.
I think all stars, now that there are so many media outlets, when you've got to do what is it? What I heard once? Something like 57 junkets in one day, you go insane. You know, maybe answering the same questions over and over again.
Maybe it's the numbers game. Maybe it's like, rather, I'll do a few straight-to-video efforts, pays the bills, and as you say, I don't have to travel around the world. I don't need 6 months in another country. I've done my bit. I can't be bothered to keep doing big. Well, what was the last thing I watched him in? Was that awful disaster film 2012, where it's just like everyone.
I've not seen that.
Everyone in it is just like, I'm paying the tax bill, I'm paying the gas bill, Woody Harrelson's in it, and it's got all like these random people popping up, and it's just run away from the special effects. It's garbage, Kent. It's garbage. So that's kind of the whistle stop. Obviously, this would pave the way for, I say, we've touched on it, the silliness of Armageddon. Cage would then go on to do Gone in 60 Seconds, another Bruckheimer production, and then
popcorn movies.
And then his career just got even more.
It's like a barometer. It's up and down all the time. But lots of fun to be had in this. We highly recommend watching it if you're on a low day, hungover, or if you had a few beers like I did. It's thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Just don't concentrate too much.
And it knows it's silly. It knows it's silly. So yeah, check it out. Kick back, open a beer, and maybe put on a mullet and the fan to get that full sort of experience.
Always looking in a fan.
Can we fade out to screeching guitars? Is that all right?
Let me just get mine ready. You got yours ready?
Hang on. Let me just plug it in.
Okay. Put the thing over your head.
Yeah. Okay. And go.
And go.
So, next time, we
will be back, and we hope you've enjoyed this episode. As per usual, please share with all of your friends. Keep the comments, the liking, and the suggestions coming in. Those have been very helpful, and they're helping us shape our calendar for the year ahead.
Got some great films coming out this year, so stay tuned.
Yeah, so it's retroramble.blog. We're on all of the other social medias. I've been Charlie McGhee.
I've been George.
And we'll see you next time.
displayed the ability to fight on to the Ranger objective and complete its mission, never leaving behind a fallen comrade, no matter what the odds or the enemy. I thank you. America thanks you. And I wish you luck wherever you go. And remember, Rangers lead the way.